What's up, my fellow creatives? I am just doing a live demonstration while I'm working. I figured I'll show you what I'm doing. I'm updating this template because this is the mock-up for the supplier for these masks, and the mock-ups are not accurate because the cutouts are not quite right. And I want to make sure that the mock-ups represent this product. We are going to release this product tonight at 11:59 p.m. on the website. So we'll announce the blanks and also the custom printable ones. But yeah, I want to represent this product as true as possible. I don't want anybody that doesn't understand what the product is. It is a face mask cover. So with that said, it can be considered a mask, but it doesn't have a filter or it's not medical grade, anything like that. It is a piece of fabric that is cut. It's not sewn. It's a no-sew type of product, but it sublimates beautifully, very quickly, and you can do a lot of these out the door, and people are raving about the ability to basically cover up those ugly surgical masks and give it a little bit of pizzazz. So that's primarily what these are for. And then I think the kids will get a kick out of these as well. So we will have them available on the website tonight. And I am in the process of doing the mock-up for it in the meantime. So let me go grab my phone so I can see if y'all are going to ask me any questions or anything. I'll be right back. So you all let me know what would be a good time. Probably we'll do it tonight, if maybe around 11 p.m. I know that's kind of late, but it'll be 11 here Eastern time. And what I'll probably do is a demonstration. So right now I'm just working on the mock-up, and later tonight I'll do a demonstration, and then officially 11:59 we'll launch the product, and you guys let me know how you feel about it. Definitely tag me if you're going to be posting what you're working on. I really want to start being able to offer you all some novel and different substrates that not everybody necessarily has. Kim, what's up, love? Philo, what's good? Rona, you made it. Hey, babe. And Vaughn, what's good? I'm glad to see y'all. So some of you have been asking me about this mask, and I was waiting until I got my my samples in so that I could fully make sure that I gave a really good review of the product as well as a demonstration of it. So if everything goes well and I don't go to sleep tonight too early, then I'll be doing my demonstration tonight for you all. But this is also an inside view and perspective of how I create some of the mock-ups based on the photos. So hopefully I have my photo. Let me go ahead and grab that. I took it with my handy dandy iPhone, which I don't know. The iPhone for the videos is killing me, y'all. I don't know if it's something that, I could do better, but when I try to take the videos, because the files are so big, take the videos from my phone and put them on my PC, baby, it is a struggle. So I don't know. I'm thinking of maybe getting a webcam or something like that maybe I can record on that pretty much puts my video right onto my PC rather than doing it from my phone. Because I'm not in the business. I don't even edit these videos, y'all. Whatever I do, my bloopers, you're going to catch them real time, live, and in full effect. If I trip over something and bust my head, guess what? It's going to be in that video because I'm not editing these things. Maybe eventually when I, get big time and we have a video editor on the team, then I'll think about that. But for now, we're just going to make it do what it do. All right, so I'm going to show you even this little bootleg process. Let me show you. So this is technically a photo that was taken on my couch. So when I open it up, it'll look like something you could have done at home. Voila, look at that. So all I'm going to do is, first thing, we do a little auto tone. That way it takes some of that red out of it. And I want to clean this up before I pull it over, just because it'll, make it a smaller image. So what I'm going to do is grab this little section right here, copy it, paste it. Control T is going to allow me to transform it. I'm going to rotate it. I can turn off my background now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring down a guideline. I did not make sure this was folded exactly straight, but hey, it is what it is. It's a mock-up. It's a representation. So I'm going to make sure that I rotate my image to where it pretty much lines right up with that horizontal line right there. And I'm happy with that. And you'll see I'm going to show you full full time what this looks like. It's cut with a laser cutter, but obviously this fabric moves when they're cutting it, so it is not like a super supreme like heat laser cut. So I do want to make y'all aware of that, but I haven't had anybody that's had issues with it. I think there has been some concern like with the thickness of it and everything, but once these are sublimated, they look beautiful, and I hope to show you that later on today. And for what they are, which are, face covers, they definitely do the job. All right, so I'm using my quick mask here. So if you hover over a tool in Photoshop, if you're ever wondering what it does or what it's called, just hover over there, it'll give you some hints. And you see that what I'm doing is I'm selecting the area, and it's trying to guess whether it's selecting the right pixels or not. And so far it's doing pretty decent because I have it on a little bit of a contrasting background. Even though there's texture in the fabric of the sofa behind it, I think it did a pretty decent job cleaning that up. And then I'm going to grab my magic wand, and I'm going to get all of this outside meat. So I'm going to hold down Shift, grab that outside meat, make sure I don't have anything missing there. All right, and then the next thing I'm going to do is select the inverse, and let's do select and mask so I can see what this is going to look like. And right now I have a feather on. I don't really need a feather, so I'm going to turn it down to 0. And the smoothness, now smoothness is if I have some jagged edges, and honestly I want to keep these jagged edges on here because if you look very, very closely, you can see that there are some jagged edges in the cut, and I just want to make sure I represent this completely, because if you look at the mock-up the supplier gave me, I can't do it right now. Let me go ahead and get out of this. I'm going to show you in just a second, but I make sure I have a little bit of smoothing on just so I don't get that bumpiness of the background image, and it should be good there. Let's go ahead and create a layer mask here, and if everything looks good how I want it, I'm just going to go ahead and apply this mask rather than keep it. Now that is destructive, so now I can't go back and add anything, but I think I did a pretty good job of keeping it as is. And I'm going to come over here and throw this onto my mock-up. Look how large that is. And as a matter of fact, let me do this so I can save my original size image. Well, let's do the other size first. But let me show you. See how it does not have these circles cut out, and it definitely doesn't have that smooth of a circle. So I'm trying to be transparent here. I'm trying to show people what it actually looks like. It has these little D's, and they look really tiny, but they stretch out. And they probably found that by making the big holes that that maybe it stretched a little too much. So they made like little D shapes, and they fit perfectly around the ear. It doesn't tug, it doesn't pull, it doesn't hurt or feel like it's aggravating the skin at all. It just works. So hopefully I'll be able to demonstrate that for you later on tonight. Let me not get too tired, y'all. All right, so we have that one, and then I have the flat presentation of it, which is, I think, this one. Yep, see right there on the sofa. I'm trying to tell you, y'all can make your own mock-ups. So it does take a little time, does take some patience, cleaning things up, of course. But once you get the process down, you're able to make something out of whatever you have. And it could be something that you had, you pulled from the dollar store. Of course, they're not going to have a mock-up for something you pull from the dollar store, so make your own mock-ups. Take a photo, get it popping. Now this one, I think maybe my focus was off a little bit because I don't have a clean edge there. So I could probably play it off, but let me see. I usually take 2 pictures, so you know, my hand be shaking and stuff. You see my hand right there in the shadow, and I'm not a great photographer by any stretch of the imagination. So if I can do this, you can do this. I'm one of the worst photographers. I'm my own shadow is usually in my pictures, all of that good stuff. But I can show you how to Photoshop what you need. I think this one might be better. Let's see. Yep, that one's got a cleaner edge to it, a little bit darker, but we'll fix that up later. So I'm going to hit enter, pull that in. We'll get rid of the background image right now. Same thing, I'm going to use my quick selection tool and touch on this gray, keep pulling it around, and hopefully I don't have any colors that are too close that it gets confused. It might get a little confused right there with that shadow that's underneath the fly, but we'll see. No, I think it did pretty good. And if we want to test that theory, I'm also going to grab my magic wand tool, get all this outside meat. And the reason why I do that is because sometimes there'll be little traces of little pieces of data right around these edges, and you won't see it until you get ready to you know, finalize your mock-up. So I'm just going to get rid of all those chances, make sure I don't see any random marching ants on my outside. I'm good. So select inverse. So I have my inside meat selected now. I'm going to go to select and mask, and I'll probably use the same settings, but let me see. I think I'm going to smooth just a little bit. Get my pixels out of there, but like I said, I'm going to keep this roughness here in the ears because that's how it really is, and I just want to make sure that that is known. All right, let's go ahead and create a layer mask. And from here, I think we're good enough to apply this layer mask. Let's do it. Now you see it's a little yellow right now. That's fine. What we're going to do is we're going to make this black and white, pull it into our template there, and we should be good on that one. Now this one is the one that was blurry, so we're not going to save it. I'm going to go ahead and save both of these, pull them into the same file. And see this lighting, this is like the living room where it has like one little ceiling fan light for the whole big room. So this lighting is really off. But what I want to do with that layer is I'm gonna do auto tone. So auto tone, try to tone it a little bit, and you're gonna see I want to keep my I want to keep these wrinkles. I want to keep the and these wrinkles are, you know, kind of coming from the shape of the couch, but how we have the shadows and the folds here, I want to keep all that because I want it to look like it's the image is really applied to this fabric and it's not just a simple, you know, vector outline that I'm doing. Okay, so I have these two. Let me save this. And we'll save this as photos. All right, so let's go ahead and bring these over since I have these saved. I'm going to bring 1 and 2 over into my mock-up. And they're really huge right now, but that's okay. Control T is going to allow me to transform them, and I'm going to bring them down in size so that they fit on my space. All right, and this is looking a lot more realistic already. I'm not going to change the front one because it's really hard for me to take a picture of this or take a photo of it on something and cut out the ears, which I could do, but I'm really trying to get to releasing this thing tonight, and I could spend about 2 additional hours making this look like it does. But I think what I will do is make it drape just a little bit so it doesn't look like it's exactly taut right there. Let's see, let's do Control T on our flat piece, and we're going to rotate it. And I almost brought it in the exact size. Your girl is good. All right, I'm just going to shift it over a little bit so that we have space for the folded version. And then the folded version, we'll make it smaller. And this is just to let people know that it does fold to 2-ply. And it also lets them know that it folds with the flap down. So if people want to put a filter in it, when it's on your face, it is tight enough to put something between those two materials. But there is nothing there that's going to stop it. And you know, so when you remove it from your face, whatever you have put inside of there, if it's not tacked to the surface of the fabric, like if it's a napkin or something, it will fall out. So while it's on the face, it will stay just fine. But when they're removing it, they have to be careful about how they remove it if it's not adhered to the fabric. And I'm actually working on something that will allow us to adhere a filter or just a pocket, an extra piece of material underneath that. So hopefully we'll see how the sales of these things go and see if it's worth it, or if we need to come up with our own design as far as our own cutout. And I'm working on that too. If it's really going to be something that takes off the no-sew face covers, I have a few designs of my own that I would like to get laser cut. So if enough of you are interested in it, then I will put those into production. So let me know. I see Tracy's here with us, and Vegan Life is here too. Hey, loves. Just talking and working, you know, doing my regular old thing. Okay, so now I have my 2 true mock-ups. I'm going to go ahead and show the other mock-ups without the image overlaying it, because I want to make sure that my colors are correct. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to match the colors and also the shadows. And if you can see real close, you can see somebody with, you know, some little thin lips right there in their nose. You can see the impression of a face into this mask. So it does let people know that you can wear it without a mask underneath. But I went out today and I wore my surgical mask and I put this on top of it, and it got lots of stares and attention. So I'm going to start actually advertising on my mask. So I want you all to do that. You might as well, if you're going to have people looking at you and staring at you, you might as well, like a billboard, you might as well be a billboard. Okay, so I'm seeing the yellow here. I definitely want to make sure that I do 2 things. One is I'm going to do an adjustment layer of black and white. And I'm going to use the previous layer to create a clipping mask. The reason why I'm doing that is because I want to make sure that I'm not affecting my layers below. And then the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to do layer, new adjustment layer, and I'm going to play with the levels. Now I intentionally increase the shadows and the levels because I kind of want to see the fabric and see the shadows once we apply the graphic on top of it. So it's almost like you're exaggerating it to get that look. And then also I add a little bit of grayness to it so it's not starkingly white. If it's starkingly white, when you apply the image on top of it, you don't see any of the variations in the shades. So, you know, you're kind of playing with it to exaggerate it a little bit to let people know that's fabric. Same thing with this one here. As a matter of fact, I don't know if the levels in the black and white is going to take exactly the same, but we're going to try it. I'm going to hold down Alt and I'm going to take my black and white and my levels layer and I'm going to drop it on top of my folded piece. And then I'm going to right click and create a clipping mask. So what I'm looking for here is, you know, do I have, you know, similar tones here? And I like that I have the same gray tone on the bottom layer, but on the top layer where the image would be, it's, you know, it's a little bit different. So we'll see if that affects our image in the long run. But other than that, I think that looks good. I'm going to go ahead and merge these. Merge that down, and then we'll rename this. So folded back view. And usually I like to capitalize my titles. And then this would be the flat front view. and we'll go ahead and merge down the black and white and the levels. And the reason why I'm merging these down, because I want this file to be as simple as possible. You know, usually I give y'all all the bells and whistles, and I think sometimes that's intimidating some of you. So this is supposed to be a really simple file, a really simple mock-up, and I want to make sure there's nothing in there that drives you crazy. All right, let's see where our existing ones are. We're going to go ahead and pull these down below the artwork. Now for the front flap view, I have two things going on here. I have one that is just the flap, and then the other, so that's my flap. I'm going to go ahead and delete that vector mask. And then for the second part, we'll just delete this mask altogether. Or we'll delete that layer altogether. And then this is the previous flat one that's off, so we'll leave that one. In fact, I'll go ahead and delete it. I'm going to delete anything that we're not using because I really want this file to be clean for you guys. This is the original. Delete that one. We'll make this thing true to the game. Now, what I have on here is actually a smart object. And I'm going to see if I can use a smart object still, because I did it based on the company's mock-up, which, like I said, was off. So let's see if it'll still hold true if I put in our mock-up. See, image size. It's a 15 by 9.273. We need it to be just a little bit bigger. Let's go ahead and bring in, I spent some time making these templates for y'all. And I'll do a video on how to work these templates when I finally get it together. But we'll have these outline templates here. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and I'm just going to straight up open this, create a new smart object layer, and then that way I can show you how I did the puppet warp and how I was able to warp the front of the face on there. So open up the PSD version. That's it. And let me see what happens when I drag this into the art layer. So I think it's going to be a little bit. Yeah. So let's just redo our art then. Let's make sure I save as. I'm going to save this as smart object. Okay, so we're gonna pretty much do this whole thing all over again. So the art layers that I'm gonna bring in, I'll bring in the word inside because I do want people to know that's the inside. The sample text, I'll bring that in. I'll bring all of these layers except for that one. I'm going to take out some of this extraneous stuff. All right, so basically I'm going to go ahead and bring in all of the art. Without that mask, because it's not true anymore. So I'll drag this down below. It has my bleed on there. This is what you would print, so you don't end up printing all this extra stuff on the side of the paper and wasting ink. So you would end up printing through this bleed, and this just gives you an idea of where you want your text and photo safe area to be. And this is important if you have a company. Let's say you're printing these for Target or for like your local bistro or something. You want to make sure that their logo is within this area here. So for instance, I could pull this because I don't care if the 2020 goes up a little bit, but maybe I don't want to lose the text here that says nothing can stop my shine. So I'm in that photo safe area. I know that that's going to be visible whenever the mask is folded and worn. And all I did was I took one of the all over t-shirt designs and I just faded some outside gradient into this so that I don't have to worry about decorating the sides and the inside flap. Now, if you want to, you can put more customer information here. For instance, while I was walking around today, I was like, I would really have liked if the mask that I had on today said, I can make your custom mask, or I make masks, or I make shirts, that sort of thing. So that could have been advertisement right there, because everybody's looking at everyone's mask. It's like the new, how everyone would look at your shoes to see what kind of shoes you have on. Now everyone's looking at each other's masks. So, make it a fashion statement, make it an advertisement, and hopefully make it something that you can make money on. All right, so have my images in here. I'm going to leave this bleed on and everything right now. And I'm going to just make it a little less opaque so I can see my words here, because what I'm going to do is turn this into my art. It's going to ask me, do I want to save changes? I'm going to say no to saving changes to the art. Close out of some of these other windows. I'm going to get rid of my existing art, and then we're going to pull in the whole new art file. And this just says place images above this area. I'm going to get rid of that extra piece, and then we'll play with the placement. All right, so we're ready to drag it in. I want my art to stay true to this size. So what I can do, I can actually, right now, I can convert this to a smart object. And if I convert it to a smart object, it's preserving everything that I've done right now, including the size, the effects, all of that good stuff. So I'm taking that preserved image and I'm going to bring it over to my mockup, and it's huge, right? But your mockup doesn't need to be huge. Your mockup is something that you're literally sending a customer to get a glimpse of what it is that you're going to create. So what I'm doing here is I'm making sure that my art image is going to fit. So right now, let me turn down my opacity, and then instead of normal, I'm going to put this on multiply. That way I can see the fabric underneath. And what I'm doing is I'm making sure that my photo image is going to be to scale with the template that I'm doing. So you see that this is almost exactly the scale. I need it just a tad bit. Oh, it might have been right to scale. Let me shift it a little bit. And again, even my flat front, I might need to rotate it a little bit to make sure that it's as flat as it can be. And you see how that bleed area really does safely encompass the outside of your graphic. So if you print to that bleed line, even if you shifted this a little bit to the left or right, you're going to be safe there. So I'm definitely happy with that. And I'm going to take this art and I'm going to right click and I'm going to create a clipping mask to the flat front. And automatically that gives you an idea of exactly how it's going to look for the customer. However, I want to make sure that I turn the opacity to 100%. Maybe even sometimes I'll turn the opacity like to 93% or 92%, because this product is 92% polyester and 8% spandex. So in my mind, like if I was doing something that was a poly cotton blend, I would take down the opacity of the image, because I don't want people thinking it's going to show up 100% opacity on a shirt that is only 65% polyester. So I will take the opacity down to around 70% to mimic that it's going to be lighter than a full polyester garment. So I brought that down to 92, and if you see, it's not that much of a difference, but it does make a difference when you're showing someone something that's going to be completely opaque and you don't let the fabric show through any of that. It looks a little misleading. So we have the main image. Oh, that was easy. That's just laying it on top. Bam, we're done. I still have my guides on here because I'm going to take this same smart object and I'm going to pull it over. And this time I'm going to clip it to my folded back view image. So I'm going to create a clipping mask, and here's the deal. You can do these as front and back, but I'm going to mock mine up as front only because I'm probably not going to spend my time and energy creating extra work for myself. So if they understand that it's going to be white on the back side and they're okay with that, it is what it is. And if they want to print the back, just charge an extra printing fee for that. Now what I'm doing here is I'm looking at my outlines, which give me an idea of my true shape, and I'm trying to make sure that I'm as much on point as I can possibly be there. And I'm good with that. Now the problem here is I'm showcasing the front and back. So this would be clipped to the entire back view. But what I want to do is grab this flap. So right now, let me turn off the artwork, and I'm going to use that handy dandy pen tool. And I'm going to go ahead and outline this flap here. Let's zoom in just a little bit. And I'm clicking and pulling in order to get these curves. And this is a process we played with last night. You'll see that 4-hour live there. Bless our hearts. The pen tool is going to be a lifesaver when it comes to creating organic and smooth shapes. Top of the heads, around fingers. Even when you start actually creating things custom, learning how to use this pen tool and create curves is going to help you tremendously when you're learning how to create your own artwork. Now at this point, I can just go off the top here because this is going to be a clipping path. But you know what? I shouldn't have done that. But I'll show you how we can change it. This is a good demonstration. So I'm going to use just this area, and it's going to be a clipping path. But the problem is I'm going to need 2 of these back views, one for my inside if I plan on doing double-sided, and then one for the flap. So right now I'm going to create a layer mask with what I have selected here. If I just hit mask, it's going to mask just that flap. And see how it took away everything else but the flap? And at this point, I think I can leave this top like this until we want to bring back the bottom part. So I'm going to duplicate this entire mask. Of course, it just shows the flap right now. So I'm going to delete that vector mask. Then let's see. Oh, as a matter of fact, let me see if I can is it? I'm going to invert this. So I'm going to control click the mask that we have selected here. Let's delete this vector mask. And then I'm going to select the inverse because now I want everything but the flap. And in this case, let me make sure that when I do, I'm on one of my marquees. So I have to be on a marquee in order to get my selected mask there. Let's see if I'm going to smooth that out. That looks fine. This is a low resolution file in order to keep your file size small. So that's why it's a little pixelated. But when you're doing your mockups and doing this as a web preview, this is going to be plenty large enough for you. So now let's do a layer mask. And see how it blacked out? So in this case, it wasn't a vector mask anymore. Now it's a bitmap mask because you can tell by the marching ants. But if I turn this one off, you'll see that's my top versus my bottom. So now I can go ahead and bring that same art copy. And one I'm going to clip to the flap. So I'll create a clipping mask for that one. And then the second one I'm going to clip to the bottom part. So we'll create a clipping mask there. Now for the top part, the flap, it is technically upside down. So what I have to do is, for the flap, we'll take the artwork that goes with the flap, Control T, and we're going to rotate it. If I hold down Shift, it locks it at the 45, 90, and 180 degree. And what I'm looking for, there it goes. I'm looking for my top flap. And I'm going to get in here and make sure that that bleed is covering. Oh, that looks good, right about there. Okay, so now it really does represent. And if I'm going to keep this white, then what I do is I turn off that layer, and now it looks like what it would look like if I was showing this to a customer. This is what your outside looks like. This is what the inside looks like. And then now the hard part is going to be to shape this around this face. And it is a fun and funny process. So I usually save that one for last. So we have these at 92% opacity, 92 for the back. And like I said, I'm keeping my guides on right now. Once I'm done placing everything, I'll turn my guides off so that you guys get to see the, the true way that the mock-up will appear. Okay, let's go ahead and same thing here. We'll grab this art. It's a smart object, so when I duplicate it and I move it, that means it is the same. It's just a different instance of the same smart object. Now here's the thing, I'm guessing right now with this part of the mock-up because you're dealing with 3D and I have my aspect ratio locked, so I'm not stretching this out right now out of proportion. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to understand for myself, and I am exaggerating this because technically that's where the nose is, right? You saw that's where let me move that up. That's where the center of the nose is. So the center of the graphic will probably be right about here. And if I want to pull a guideline, I can pull it from my ruler. If you don't see your rulers, go to View and go to Show your guides. If you don't have your guides, and then Show Rulers right here, and you'll see these rulers. And if you see the rulers, you're automatically able to pull guides from them. And I'll set that as like my center point. As a matter of fact, let me do View, Show, Guides. Oh, I need to lock this image in. And then I can show my guides. You got one too many guides there. All right, so that's right there in the center of the nose, center of the lip. And I might even exaggerate and pull it forward a little bit more just so that you can see what's going to be on here. Because, of course, if you have text going across here, you're going to lose that text. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to turn on my sample text. Because sample text kind of lets me know. Uh-oh. Let me go ahead and lock these layers too. And lock. So I can move my art around, but I don't want to be moving around my my area here. And it looks like I need to trim down this outside area because I want it to stay printable. So let me clear the aspect ratio here and let me trim down this to just the white. So then that way when I go to print, technically I can print from my mockup. That's the cool thing. But I wouldn't print from this. I would go ahead and save it as a JPEG to scale. And then let's make sure, let's go image size. I want to make sure I'm still at 15 by 9.773. Perfect. So I'm good on that. So when it asks me to save, I'm going to say yes. Please don't let it. I think when I clean up my canvas size, it's going to shift it a little bit, but it should not have changed the size. So all I have to do is shift my art about the same size as what I cut off of the canvas. So I'd rather have done it now than when I do all this 3D pushing this thing around right now. All right, so fold it back view, we'll shift that up a little bit. Ah, no, I need the art. Here we go. The art is what I'm shifting. Okay, all right. Okay, so we're good on that. And then what I might do for this mask on the flap, let me, while I'm thinking about it, I'm gonna control select this area, and then I'm gonna grow this area out a little bit. Let's see, if I feather it just a little bit, it's going in, so I'm going to shift the edge in or out. I'm going to shift it out a little bit and bring down that smoothness. Give it just a little tiny bit of feathering. Because what I want to do, I don't want to see any white space. Even though that could simulate the white that is actually the thickness of the fabric, it's kind of throwing me off right now. So we're going to see if I want to keep that. So let's delete that vector mask and replace a new one. And then what I'm going to do, just to give it a little more drama, is add a little bit of a drop shadow. And I'll bring the opacity down a little bit, just so I can really tell that there is a flap there. And if I really play with this a little bit more, I probably could clean that edge up just a little bit further. But I think that's going to be good right there. Especially when I turn off the guides, that'll be good. Okay, so now it looks like it's folded over. It kind of adds a little more drama. I'm good with that. All right, so the hard part is trying to figure out how am I going to get this mock-up to go over this three-dimensional quarter-turned face right now. Hey, what's good, love? I just saw you. All right, so this is going to be the tricky part, but we're just going to go ahead and get into it. We're going to use something called a puppet warp, and a puppet warp allows you to move around. And as a matter of fact, let me go ahead and lock. No, I'm not going to lock my art just yet, just in case we need to do any shifting. So the first thing I'm making sure of is that I'm somewhere in the center or near the center. But you see, I'm going to exaggerate this just a little bit because I want people to be able to see what my sample text says. So really me bringing this over to the left is a little exaggerated. However, I wasn't going to make my own 3D version, so we're going to work with what we have here. But I'm telling people that, you know, this will save their text. And we'll see how that works in just a moment. So this is going to be rotated. And this is just me guessing right now how this rolls. So it's rotated because when you put it around your ears, the mask naturally kind of tilts the image up. So it's going to be tilted up towards the ears. And the center line here is sort of going to be my point at which I keep things straight, and then everything else will curve from there. So I'm going to, let me pull that down just a little. Press enter in order to set that, and then let's go to edit, and let's go to puppet warp. And you're going to get this weird little setup here. Well, what I'm going to do is put pins in it. So I'm going to put a pin here and a pin here. And basically this is going to keep these in place. And then I'm going to, when I put a new pin, I have an option to really leave it there or shift. So I'm shifting this image around, and you will you will muck some stuff up by you know, playing with this. So just play with it. Don't be too hard on yourself. First time I ever dealt with this, I created something very crazy looking. So I will not judge. And then what I'm going to do is for this side, I'm going to bring it up just a little bit as if it's kind of starting to curve up. But I know I'm not using this side over here. I'm just imagining that it's going to curve up. And you can even pull it out a little bit, like it's stretching out over that mouth there. And I got a little too much of a hard curve here. So what I'm going to do is change my pen here. And I'm going to pull that one down. And then what I can do is I can right click on an existing pen and I can delete that one. And then I can come to the right of it and kind of pull that down a little bit. And if you look at the rectangle that was there, I can use that to gauge whether I'm really getting that curve shape. So it's kind of, you know, giving me those vibes that I'm following along. Here to here, I probably could pull this up just a little bit. So I'm getting that curve there. And for me, I'm happy with that. Probably could push that in just a little bit. You're working with perspective, and if you were sketching this, you know, it kind of would be similar concepts there. But I'm all right with that. So next thing I'm going to do, I'll pull this down just a little bit, nudge it down, because I know that I'm into my bleed area. And then, but then I'm missing my earpiece. So I think I'm good right there. So we're going to take this art copy, put it above the 3D mask. Oh, it is above the 3D mask. So let's right click and create a clipping mask. Bam! I clipped it to the 3D mask and it looks 3D. So that's a little tip trick there. It takes some playing with this, so it looks like magic, but sometimes it can also look like a mess. So play with it. If you get it wrong, it's a smart object. It's a smart filter. You can turn this filter off, and then I have my flat object again. For this purpose, I'm going to leave the smart filter on, because what it does for you, if you have Photoshop and you double click on any of these images, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to close all this up because I don't want y'all playing with this. Basically, once I have this set, I want y'all to set it and forget it. The most I want you to do is maybe put your logo on here. That's it. All right, and let me grab. I'm going to turn off the art. What did I do where it's asking me to save changes? I don't know. I guess we're about to see in just a second. Let me double click on the art. Okay, it still looks good. So now I want to preview what I'm doing without my guide. So I use my guidelines to help me set up my art, right? I don't need them anymore. I don't even need this white area here. But I'm going to leave it on because this tells me how good or how bad my mockup is. So when I close out of this, I'm going to say yes, I'm going to save it. And you'll notice that the guidelines have gone away. So now all I see is the print and of course the product. So I could do something a little fancy. I can offer a little drop shadow from the mask, make it look like it's, you know, kind of standing off from the paper. I could do a drop shadow to the bottom flap. Where's our bottom flap? There we go. Let's go ahead and add a drop shadow there. And let's do a drop shadow to the flat front view. There we go. And if you don't like the drop shadows, take them off. But I think what it does is it lets people see that it's not just a SVG mockup. All right, so now we're going to have a little bit of fun and see if everything works. Now, I test this out with different types of images, and I'm going to show you why in just a moment. Let's see, let's go ahead and open up our art layer. And let me do this. So how you're going to open up the art layer, I will group all of this foolishness and don't touch. Okay, so don't touch. And then what you'll do is art here at the top. I'm going to put this as, turn the eyeball off so you won't see it, but I'm going to say double click DBL, click to change, challenge to change art. So this is what you'll double click in order to change the art. So don't touch that one. Double click to change the art. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. So double click change the art there. Good, good. I'm going to take off sample text now. So we know how sample text looks. So now I'm going to have the image and then the word inside. So let's see how that looks. Image and inside. I'm all right with that. Now, this one is one that is a popular design. So I'm going to put that one on with the camo and then turn off my gradient. What does it matter if they're off or on? And I'll leave the word inside on there. And I think I'm going to put sample text on here. No, let's leave sample text on because if I have to change it, I need my text and my mouth. Okay, so see, now the mouth, I told you I did this on purpose. I kind of shifted everything to the left a little bit so I saw more of it. Well, that also makes my mouth on my mask here look a little untrue and janky, right? So what I'm going to do is go to my smart object for that layer, double click on my smart filter, or I'm sorry, double click on my puppet warp, and then I can play with this a little bit. Let's say that I want to now the thing is I'm shifting all of this stuff. As a matter of fact, let me go back a second. I'm going to escape so I don't save this. Now, what I'm doing, if I shift this and then I put a face there, you'll see that it is going to stretch the face the same way that it's stretching this mouthpiece right now. So what I may want to do is when I go to my puppet warp, I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and shift the entire thing to the right first, because that was my problem in the first place. Is that I was being a little dishonest about where my center was. And then I'll edit my puppet warp from here. And this is supposed to be the center of my mouth right now. Everything else should just be flowing from that point. And like I said, I want to see what the sample text says. I want to get as much of it as possible. Although, you know, when you're looking from one side, you're not going to see the left and right side at the same time. So in order to be as honest as possible, but still showing off what it would look like, I think this is a good, you know, mix between that. Let's double click on the art and see what the next design looks like. So I think that one works. We can go back to our original, take off the sample text, and see what it does with his face. Because if it stretches our face out and makes it look crazy, then we have another issue. Okay. And you'll see sometimes, like, let's see, did it stretch your eyes out? Not too bad. Because it'll stretch out the eyes and the nose and the mouth to where on photos, it'll make your photos look all squished up and weird. But I think that works just perfect. So let's check out another variation of the design. I'm going to alt click on this backdrop. And let's double click the art and see what another setup looks like. And that's just like your simple print there. I'm going to make sure that I go all the way into my bleed area, which I'm not right now. Holding down shift will allow you to stretch it disproportionately. And we'll put on, let's put Dolly on there. How you doing, Dolly? Pardon me, 6 feet, please. All right, so let's see what that looks like. And see how you lose a little bit of me, but you can still tell what it's supposed to say. And you don't see Dolly on the other side, but you can tell Dolly's going to be there. That's okay for me. And it looks like my artwork is a little shifted to the left. So let me go to my artboard and let me find the center here. And usually it'll snap towards the center. And I can take my 2 dollies and pull them as one unit, and they were not centered. So if I want them centered, I'm going to have to get them about how I want them. And they don't have to be exactly centered. Don't, you know, definitely don't kill yourself trying to make these perfect. But if you have an opportunity to make it symmetric, then definitely do that. So pardon me, if I do Control T, I can see my points there, and I see that one is centered. So I'll leave that alone. Save, and let's check out our mock-up. Yep, looks a little more centered to me. And now I barely see that other side at all, and that's cool because that's the point of showing the flat mask. So you can show that, hey, Dolly's on both sides. You're showing the 3/4 view so that you're giving people an idea of what this looks like on the face. If people saw this flat mask, they probably will be looking at it crazy. They don't know what it's going to do. And then I am on this mock-up. I'm going to turn off the art layer there. Okay, so then they'll know that that's going to, for me, that's going to be blank on the back unless they are giving up some extra coins. Okay, so I think I'm done with the mock-up. So now truly, y'all don't have to touch that. And I can do the tutorial on how this would really work. So while y'all are here on the live chat, I know you probably have seen this mask. I know there was some controversy on this type of mask in one of the groups, and one of my good fellows, G from G Prints, you know, was, I think, unfairly attacked based on some work that he had done, and he's selling the mask as well. So you all let me know how you really feel about that. This is I mean, this is our forum, so I feel like G, I don't even know, he may or may not be on tonight, but don't worry about hurting his feelings. He's a very professional guy, very honest and straightforward businessman, and I think that the way he approached the issue was very, very he did so with a lot of reserve, with a lot of poise, with a lot of business class. So I commend him on that. But I really want to know what you all think of the mask. So we'll have them and we'll launch them This tonight was at 10 o'clock now, so have until what, 11:59 to get that up on the website. But I truly want to know what you think, and I'm for real because I will prototype stuff. I'm prototyping some graduation toppers for you all now. So because so many people ask me, like, is there a way that they could just buy them already made? So I'm going to do the satin top and cardstock bottom, and that way it'll be pre-cut to 9.25 inches, and you all will be able to offer those as substrates if my prototype goes well tonight. So I haven't seen them, and I felt like enough of you are asking about them to where I will make a prototype of them. And hopefully I can get those on the market for you all by tomorrow, as soon as tomorrow. So I'll have that listing up, and then I'll do a video just on how to work those, because I gave y'all some workarounds. You know, I prototyped some things like right in front of your face using a postal envelope. So I don't want no excuses. You know, we are creatives for real. And sometimes that means we just pull magic out of our hats. Okay. So let me know what you think about these. I'm going to do a review, a physical review of them. It's already 10 o'clock. So yeah, I said I would do it around 11 if I can get to it around 11. I'll do it live so that if you all have questions, you can ask me. And I'll go ahead and post this in the Innate Creatives group. So if anybody sees it and can join us tonight, any questions that you have, you can ask me. Any comments, like if y'all want to rag on it in a way that is constructive. Like, what can we do about it? What, you know, what can we say to our customers if we're going to use this product? How can we avoid not giving disclaimers that we need to give? Because a lot of people are selling these masks, and they're shutting down a lot of suppliers in China because they're calling them masks, and they're selling them as if they're, you know, COVID tools. But in actuality, they're not giving the proper disclaimers that this is a face covering, a fashion face covering. It gives no warranties whatsoever that it's going to protect you against COVID or any other disease or virus. So we need to be clear about that with our customers. So this is a good forum also for us to discuss some of those ways in which products that we put out, we have to be not only you know, fiscally responsible for, because, you know, we have to take people's money and make sure they're getting what they're paying for, but we also have to be aware of how that person perceives the product and the safety of it. So that's a big deal. So maybe we'll come up with our own disclaimer as well, so that when you all are selling face masks and face coverings, that you're protecting yourselves. Because if somebody comes back and says, hey, I bought this face mask and not everybody in my family has COVID, we've been wearing your mask every day, what's up? You can, you know, boldly say, hey, when I submitted the artwork to you, it had this disclaimer on the bottom. That's a good idea. I should put it on the artwork, on the proof. So put it on the proof, put it in the packaging that you're giving to them, because you just don't want to get caught up in anything like that. Okay, so do you have any questions or anything for me on this one? Because I think I'll get ready to do the video in a little bit. That way y'all can think of whatever questions y'all are going to have about these masks, and we'll go over that tonight if you're still up. If not, then I will leave the recording up so you can still ask questions, and if you can remind me, we'll post it in the group, the video in the group, and then ask people to you know, put any comments or questions that they have. So hopefully we can answer them where everybody can see them. Or you can ask the question underneath the video so people watching the video can get the same answers, and I don't have to answer something a million times, because y'all, my time is limited, and sleep doesn't find me too easy these days. So I want to at some point in time get a chance to rest up. But I want to say I appreciate y'all. I see y'all buying these stoles, getting ready to do this graduation stuff. So more power to you. Feel free to use my mockups if you need to generate interest. My mockups, it does have a little Innate Lab on there. I don't mind if that little Innate Lab, you put your business name over that Innate Lab, because as long as you're not doing it in other groups, in other crafting groups, The crafting groups, I expect them to know that it's, my template. But when you're promoting to your customers, your clients that you're physically making goods for, they don't have to know anything about any lab. So you just, put your logo on there and say, hey guys, I can make these graduation stoles. And then if you make a sale, purchase a template. And if you need help with the artwork, there is an option for that too. It does charge you for the PNGs though. So if you want that help basically getting those PNGs turned out for your clients, it pretty much is the same cost as the Photoshop file. So, normally it's $20. So it will be $18 to $20 depending on how many photos you're trying to get us to manipulate in that file. You're welcome, Rona. All right, love. So I'm going to log off and try to get my voice together because y'all know usually I start coughing all over the place once I start recording for an hour or longer. So I'm not going to jinx myself, and I will see y'all probably 11 tonight, and we'll do a Q&A session for the mass, okay? All right, loves. I will talk to y'all soon. Bye for now. See you in a bit.